The Little Prince.
Hello, dear friends. Welcome to my channel. Today we're going to read The Little Prince, chapters 1, 2, and 3. It's a gentle bedtime story for kids and for anyone who still believes in magic. Relax, breathe slowly, and let's begin. When I was 6 years old, I once saw a magnificent picture in a book on the virgin forest called Stories of Life. It was a boa constrictor that had swallowed a wild beast. Here is a copy of the drawing. It was written in the book, "Boa constrictors swallow their whole prey without chewing. Then they cannot move and they sleep during the 6 months of their digestion." I then thought a lot about the adventure set of the jungle and, in turn, succeeded with a colored pencil. In drawing my very first drawing, it was like this. I showed my masterpiece to the grown-ups and asked them if my drawing frightened them. They said, "Why would a hat be scary?" My drawing was not of a hat. It was a boa constrictor digesting an elephant. I then drew the inside of the boa constrictor so that the grown-ups could understand. They always required more explanation. My second drawing was like this. The grown-ups advised me to leave aside the drawings of boa constrictors from the outside or the inside, and to interest myself instead in geography, history, calculation, and grammar. Thus, at the age of 6, I abandoned a magnificent career as a painter. I had been discouraged by the failure of my first drawing and my second drawing. Grown-ups never understand anything on their own, and it is tiring for children to always have to give them explanations. So I chose another job. I learned to fly airplanes. I have flown all over the world, and geography was very useful to me. I can tell China from Arizona at a glance. That helps if you get lost in the night. In my life, I have met many people who are busy with important matters. I have lived among grown-ups. I have seen them up close, and that has not really improved my opinion of them. Whenever I met someone who seemed clever, I would show them my drawing number 1 to see if this person really understood, but no matter who it was, they would always say, "That is a hat." Then I would never talk to them about boa constrictors, or forests, or stars. I would talk down to their level. I would talk about bridge, golf, politics, and ties. And the grown-up would be very happy to meet such a sensible man. So I lived my life alone, without anyone I could really talk to, until I had an accident in the desert 6 years ago. Something went wrong with my plane's engine, and since I had no mechanic and no passengers with me, I had to fix it all by myself. It was a matter of life or death. I only had enough water to last me for 8 days. The first night, I fell asleep on the sand, far away from any human life. I was more isolated than a shipwrecked sailor on a raft in the middle of the ocean. So you can imagine how surprised I was when, at dawn, a strange little voice woke me up. It said, "If you please, draw me a sheep." What? Draw me a sheep. I jumped to my feet, completely astonished. I looked around, and there stood a most extraordinary little fellow, staring at me very seriously. I looked at him and saw that he was unlike anything I had ever seen. He was not big, and he looked very tired and curious. "Excuse me," I said, "but what are you doing here?" And he repeated very slowly, as if he were speaking of something very serious, "If you please, draw me a sheep." When a mystery is too powerful, you dare not disobey. As strange as it seemed to me, far away from all human life and in danger of death, I took out a piece of paper and my pen. But then I remembered that I had only studied geography, history, arithmetic, and grammar, and I told the little man that I did not know how to draw. He answered, "It doesn't matter. Draw me a sheep." But I had never drawn a sheep. So I drew for him the only drawing I knew how to make. Drawing number 1, the boa constrictor from the outside. And I was absolutely amazed when the little man said, "No, no, no. I do not want an elephant inside a boa constrictor. A boa constrictor is very dangerous, and an elephant is much too big. Where I live, everything is very small. I want a sheep. Draw me a sheep." So I drew another picture. "There," I said, "the sheep you wanted." He looked at it and shook his head. "No, the sheep is already very sick. Make me another." I drew another. This time, my little gentleman smiled gently and refused. "You can see for yourself. This is a ram. It has horns." So I made another drawing. This one, too, was rejected. "This one is too old. I want a sheep that will live a long time." Then, losing my patience, because I was in a hurry to fix my engine, I drew a box. I said to him, "This is a box. The sheep you want is inside." And then I was amazed to see my little judge light up with joy. That is exactly what I wanted. Do you think this sheep needs a lot of grass? Why? Because where I live, everything is very small. I'm sure there will be enough grass for him. It's a very small sheep. He bent his head toward the picture. Not so small. Look, he has fallen asleep. And that was how I met the little prince. Thank you for listening to The Little Prince, chapters 1, 2, and 3. If you enjoyed this story, please like, subscribe, and share. I will continue the story very soon. Good night and sweet dreams.